Chapter 6, in which the subject of strikes is introduced. I don't have a fucking watch on. This would be amazing if I was wearing a watch.
Like Arvy?
Like Arvy. I need to wear a watch like Arvy for this. Well, not really, because whatever. They haven't met the Jacobses yet.
Oh, yeah.
It was going on 8 o'clock by the time the boys reached the Jacobses' apartment. Jack and David had been taking turns carrying Les, who had fallen asleep after eating 5 strings of licorice, a chocolate bar, and 4 feet of dot paper.
How the hell do you fall asleep after that kind of sugar rush?
I'd be wired! This kid should be running around more than Stillwell Angel on his chocolate bar. Stillwell Angel, have another chocolate bar. Jack didn't want to come inside, but David insisted. After all, they were partners.
Yeah, I'm sure they were partners.
And on that, you need to take a drink. Yeah, you better drink that. At first, Esther and Mayor were angry because David and Les were so late, and they were puzzled that David would bring home an Irish boy he hardly knew. But when David emptied his pockets and Mayor saw the magnificent mountain of coins, his frown turned into a smile. He even insisted that Jack join them for dinner. Jack was unusually quiet during the meal. David suspected that the presence of his sister, who looked especially beautiful that night with her long, thick brown hair and her shining eyes, had left him tongue-tied. He'd noticed that the boys who bragged the most were often the shyest when girls were around. Can we just talk about David's description of Sarah right there for a second? That's like at least 1,000,005 kinds of wrong.
It's called incest.
This family is so fucking incestuous. It's ridiculous. Like, Jonathan last. I am surprised and also disappointed in you. How can a man so esteemed in your field write this piece of vomit in my hand? Like, I don't understand. During dinner, Mayor told them of a scene he had witnessed earlier that day. He had been walking down the street when he saw a trolley stopped up ahead and heard men shouting. Not because they were zombies, just because they were on strike. I'm sorry. When he came closer, he saw that the strikers had set fire to the trolley. He watched in horror as they pulled down the scab conductors and beat them. Although Mayor was upset by the violence, he was also impressed by the strikers' dedication to their union. If the men at the piano factory had a union like that, they would probably have guaranteed he'd get his job back when his hand healed. What exactly is a scab? David asked. David, you fucking go to school in July. You should know what a scab is. Like, obviously summer school's not working for you, buddy. Try again. Go dance on a piano. Your dad used to make them until he broke his hand. He knew from the way people said it, and he heard it said a great deal lately, that it was something despicable and that it had to do with strikes. But beyond that, he was in the dark. For a strike with Jack and no clothes. For a strike to succeed, Mayor explained, all the workers have to walk out and stay out until the boss agrees to their demands. Naturally, the boss would rather hire a new bunch of workers than give up a penny of his profits, so that's the first thing he tries to do. The new workers are called scabs, and they're the lowest form of life, says Mayor the Socialist. They're not very smart either. Although they get jobs for themselves, their wages are lower and they hurt everybody's chance of ever having decent working conditions. After dinner, Mayor made Esther bring out a cake she'd been saving for his birthday the next day. That's for your birthday tomorrow! It was a celebration, he said. His son and his son's new business partner were a success. So he thought. Whatevs. And this is only the beginning, David said. Once I learn the ropes, I'll be making double or triple. Or you'll work only until this blasted hand heals and I can go back to the factory, Mayor said. Yes, Father, David said quietly. After dinner, David and Jack went out on the fire escape for a breath of air. Jack stood on the steel grating and gazed in the window at Esther singing Les a lullaby and Sarah reading the paper to Mayor. Why is she fucking reading the paper to him? Like, women in 1899 couldn't do jack shit. How can she read? She sits home and makes lace all day.
Maybe David taught her?
Oh. David doesn't do that. My hat is falling.
I say he taught her because, you know, David and Sarah have a very special relationship.
They have a very special relationship. Yes. The longing in his eyes was unmistakable. David had always considered his family a pain in the neck, but now, suddenly, he realized just how lucky he was. Why didn't you stay here tonight? He asked. No thanks, I got my own place, you see. But thanks, your family's real nice, David. Reminds me of my own, in fact. Something about the way he said that made David realize that Jack was lying and that he had no family, but he also saw how important it was for his friend to have this bit of make-believe, so he nodded and went along with it. "I'd introduce you to them," Jack went on, "but they're out in Santa Fe looking for a new home for us, a ranch where we can raise cattle. As soon as they find it, they're going to send for me and I'll be on my way." "I hope it doesn't happen too soon," David said. "I've got to learn how to be a newsie first." "Dude, you've got to make out with him first. What are you talking about?" "Don't worry, I won't go till I teach you everything." Down chicka wow wow. "Time to come in," Mayor called to them. "Sure you don't want to stay?" David said. "Nah, see you tomorrow. Carrying the banner." "Carrying the banner," David agreed. He watched as Jack slipped down the fire escape ladder, agile as a city squirrel, and jumped into the pavement. City squirrel? Why not a fucking, like, country squirrel? Those shits are way more agile than those fuckers on the sidewalk today. Jack waved, then turned and ran down the street from the circle of one street lamp to the next, and finally into the darkness. End of chapter 6.